Hey everybody, welcome back to Hot News. It's time to jump into it, but before we do, today's episode is brought to you by UFD Deals. It's where we bring you hot deals from around the internet, where we can find what's on sale, what's going to cost you a little bit less than normally would, and how you can save a little bit across all of your favorite websites like Newegg, Amazon, B&H. All of those, we have affiliate codes to those, so we compile the deals and give it to you so that you can you don't have to do the research yourself. We bring it to you. So check out UFD Deals. The link for that will be in the video description if you're interested in hot deals, which I'm sure you're going to be, especially with new cards launching. You're going to want to see if graphics cards are going down in price, which, spoiler alert, they kind of are. So check out UFD Deals, and let's just jump into the hot news now. Are you all ready to get angry at Apple? Well, I mean, you probably already are. Most of our demographic is Android users, but it appears that the giant fruit company that's the world's first company to hit $1 trillion valuation is trying to scapegoat some taxes. And by doing so, they've claimed that their giant spaceship headquarters is worth $200. Not 200 million, not 200 billion. $200. Yes, for the price of a garden shack, you should be able to buy the Cupertino headquarters of Apple. The reason they did this was to lower the tax burden that they're paying for their giant spaceship, because everybody knows that's just a lot of money. Apparently, it was valued at roughly $1 billion. There was another valuation that was close to $320 million, and Apple was just like, no, this is worth less than an iPhone, okay? You break an iPhone in half, that's how much our headquarters is worth, because they don't want to pay their tax bill. To which, of course, the CEO, Tim Cook, stated that in every country where we operate, Apple follows the law and we pay all the taxes we owe, which I'm sure is true, but this, I mean, by definition, is the meaning of the word loophole. So if they can get out of by somehow legally stating that their headquarters is worth less than any product that they ever produce, then, you know, good on them, because it's worth lost AirPods. That's basically like, we lost our AirPods. Where are they? Oh, they're in the headquarters. That's what makes it $200. Otherwise, you could just demolish it and it's worth nothing. Let's start a bid. I'm gonna pay $201 for Apple's headquarters. Going once, going twice. Sold to UFD Tech for $216. Well done, everybody. Now let's talk about another tech company that most people despise, but this is actually good news, because apparently Facebook's fundraising feature for people who have birthdays, which is when like you have your friend has an upcoming birthday and Facebook's like, hey, do you want to start a charity in their name? And you say yes. Well, apparently they've raised over $300 million during its first year to over 750,000 nonprofits. And I know some of you guys are going to be cynical and be like, you don't give to charity because their overhead's way too high. Let's celebrate people actually doing some good in the world, and out of the generosity of their heart, giving money so that they can appear good on their Facebook page, that like the charity thing went really big. This is in conjunction with Facebook announcing that they are developing an app called the Nonprofit Selection Tool that will help people search for an organization to raise money for, whether or not they're gonna have like their own leanings in there and like give you the charities that they think are good, like the Facebook Rehabilitation Fund for Facebook employees who need more money. Well, we'll have to see. I'm not sure I would necessarily trust them recommending this kind of stuff to me, but where are you at with this? Let me know down in the comments. Another tech giant company, Uber, is apparently still around as a company, even though they just reported that they lost $891 million in the second quarter of 2018. Yes, nearly $1 billion in a single quarter is their loss. However, the good news is this is down from the $1.1 billion that they lost last year in Q2. So good job, Uber, on stymieing your death by like $200 million. How does, like, where are they getting money from? If they can bleed this heavily, like, how are they making any money whatsoever? Why are they still around as a company? How much did they venture capital fund raise? This is crazy. Uber, what do you, how does somebody sustain nearly $1 billion in losses and not be called AMD? Do you want Amazon to know everything that college students say? Well, apparently St. Louis University does, because they are putting an Echo Dot in every single student living space in dorm on their campuses, which equates to over 2,300 Echo Dots. They're stating that they're not recording any of the information. They're not gonna hold any of it. They're not gonna look into any of it. All of it is really just there so that students can ask questions like, how long is pizza good for when you leave it out? Or how many shots of tequila can I drink before I die? Those sort of nice things. Not the fact that they're probably recording them to see if they're doing anything illicit or just spying on them in general. No, like that's cynicism need not apply here. The university stated that if a student doesn't want the Echo Dot in the room and their roommate feels the same way, they advise them to unplug the device and store it in a safe location. And if they lose it, they're gonna be charged a fee. So there you go, wiretaps in every single dorm room platform at SLU, that's the way to go. I'm sorry for everybody who's going there. Your life is over. Amazon has everything about you now. You're just giant metadata for them. Congrats. At least the university isn't spending any tuition money on it. Apparently, Amazon is basically bankrolling this entire thing. So why would they do that unless they got some sort of kickback? Or maybe I'm just a cranky old skeptic right now. Like, I can't believe that Amazon is doing this out of the benevolence of their own heart. Rather, they're trying to do some market research on like 18 to 20-year-olds and trying to figure out what are their purchasing habits going to be in a few years by literally listening to everything that they say. What do you think? You okay with this? I'm not. But in case you wanted more integration with Amazon's Alexa, Windows 10 is now going to be fusing it with Cortana, so you can ask Cortana a question, it'll fuse with your Alexa, and then you can turn on the lights in your house, or you can just get it to spy on you from Windows 10, because that's what we needed. More spyware. We needed Amazon and Microsoft partnering up in that way to create this giant festering cesspool of metadata. Another news story that I'm going to be salty and kind of cranky about, it appears that Motorola has decided they don't need to innovate anymore, and they can just copy Apple and Huawei and just produce something that looks like a fusion of the two most popular, or the second and third most popular phone makers on the market. They're fusing the iPhone's like camera design with the Huawei's like color palette, and like it just giant this, and they're also calling the Motorola P30, which is a giant ripoff of the Huawei P20. What are you doing, Motorola? Hard pass, stop this. At least create something that people like, come on. Nobody, this is why you're a failing company and Lenovo had to buy you. It's time to stop. And another news story about companies ripping off other companies. Steam is ripping off Windows games because they're going to put them on Linux. Apparently they have a compatibility system that they're working on that you can find in the microcode of whatever they're doing, and it looks like they're developing it so that Linux game or normal Steam games can run natively on a Linux environment, just kind of like they would on a Steam OS platform, because that's based on Linux. They're working on it, so Linux users, you won't have to be the brunt of the joke of you not being able to game, and we can just reserve that for Mac people. Unless Valve actually develops this for Mac users too. Please don't do that. We need them to be the fodder for our jokes. As far as when this is going to be released, there's no ETA on that. However, just basically when Half-Life 3 is announced. We got some SSD news for you. It appears that Micron is developing its own in-house NVMe controller, which will allow them to just host everything all together. Good job for you, Micron. But then, in more important news that is more generally applicable to a whole butt ton of people, it appears that analysts are expecting that NAND prices shall go down to 8 cents per gigabyte next year, which, in case you don't want to do the math, that basically means it's about $82 per terabyte hard drive of an SSD. Sure, NVMe drives might be a little bit more expensive, but I mean, a 1 terabyte SSD that only costs less than $100, I'm slapping a whole buttload of those in my system. I'm excited for this. Basically, this is in conjunction with the news that NAND supply has been increasingly high, and it basically will lead to an oversupply in 2019, and there's forward prices are just going to plummet. We might see SSD prices approaching that of a normal spinning mechanical drive, which means rip HDD industries, except for like NAS environments where you need, redundancy and failure rates that are higher than SSDs. Do you want mining news? It's time for some mining news. It appears that the crypto market has not been in a good state recently, in case you didn't know, but that has led to mining to be really, really unprofitable, or like to the point where it's not really profitable at all, depending on where you live and your electricity. Like normal electricity costs are now approaching the unprofitable levels, especially for mining equations like Ethereum. Bitcoin is also really rough off. If you take a look at any crypto chart, as far as mining goes, we're in the category of like things not being really worth buying graphics cards for mining at this point because of the crash in the market, the lack of profitability. However, I'm sure a lot of us can relish in the fact that this might mean that new graphics cards that might be, say announced in a few days will not be picked up by miners because the profitability just necessarily won't be as great as it would have been had these cards launched a few months ago. However, it also could be that these cards are amazing and then it skyrockets the profitability because they're better than anything else that's on the market for a price that's really great. Who knows? This could be really bad for everybody. But then on the other hand, it appears that TSMC is reporting that companies like Bitmain and the other ASIC manufacturers have seen an increase in demand, probably because of higher developments in such processes such as 7 nanometers, but then also new companies entering into the fold, trying to gain market share from Bitmain. They're all competing against one another and they're boosting their sales in order to make sure that they can have a higher market share. There's also the added incentive that Bitmain is trying to attain an IPO in Hong Kong, strong, which means that if they can boost their sales, what by any means necessary, whether that's legitimate sales numbers or not, then their IPO can be valued a little bit higher and they make more money off of that. I'm sure it's a mixture of everything from legitimate sales to actual technological development to some maybe sleight of hand behind the scenes because they're trying to make money because they've been known to mine with ASICs that like are not released yet and therefore like messing up the crypto market. Can't necessarily trust them to do the right thing with an IPO launch either. That's my speculation, hypothesization. Let me know down in the comments if you care about that at all. And let me know in this poll up here, are you still mining at all? Curious. Now it's time for some NVIDIA GPU news. Gainward has released a promotional image showing a 3-fan cooling design, which would be presumed to go on the upcoming RTX 2080 and 2070. It kinda is reminiscent of the Titan XP Star Wars edition with the color of the fans and the design of them, and it could just be a blatant knockoff of that, or it can be an actual design that they might be coming out with. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But then there's also the fact that the company Galax, or also known as Galaxy, has a promotion going on where you can trade in certain versions of older cards for newer cards, and one of those is you can trade in the FX 5200, which is from ages ago, 2003 I believe. You can trade that in to potentially win the next generation of gaming graphics cards, which presumably would be an RTX 2080. So if you're interested in that promotion, we'll leave a link to that in the video description. Not sure if it applies to anybody outside of the region specified, but there you go, we'll leave a link for that in case you're interested. Then finally, there's more information on the RT cores that NVIDIA announced with Turing at the press conference at SIGGRAPH. It appears that they're not only just dedicated to ray tracing in video games, but then they're also dedicated to ray tracing audio, which means that in like VR environments with sounds bouncing off of different things, subsurface scattering of audio basically, different particles can have different, like a wood desk would sound different of a reflection of sound than say a glass table, which I mean basically is what we're going for with ray tracing in video games. We could also get that with audio, so it can make it for a more immersive environment when you're playing those games, which hopefully means that we can just have more realistic video games that are lifelike and make us forget all of our troubles and our worries in this life. Finally, the news that everybody's been waiting for, Intel is doing a graphics card, which we already knew this. They officially announced that they're going to be releasing it in 2020, but it appears at SIGGRAPH this year, they released a little teaser for it. It's 1 minute and 20 seconds. They dropped it on Twitter, as far as I can tell. They're talking about how they power bajillions of pixels, how they brought the world's first DX12 compliant graphics processor, and they were first in PC graphics for 4K, Netflix movies, 4K, all of, like, they're just great at everything. And then at the very end of the video, we get to see a shining beacon, just like Mjolnir sticking in a stone, or like the stored in the stone. I don't know. It's really great looking. I like this graphics card. Intel, please. So their marketing manager, Chris Hook, who, in case you don't remember, is from AMD, stated that they'll take the time and the effort to be the first successful entrant into the DGPU segment in 25 years, but we have some incredible talent at Intel, and above all, a passion for discrete graphics. Whether or not this is going to be for gaming still remains to be seen. With how much they're hyping it up, I would assume so. Like, I don't think you really need to make a promo video like this to get the juices flowing of developers. They're just going to use whatever supports their ecosystem best, so you don't need to like throw this out there. And especially with them talking about DX12, I would presume that this is going to be somewhat related to video games. And so Intel, please help us with the fact that like we have to wait for AMD to eventually catch up to beat NVIDIA. We really need you to compete in this space. So please, for the love of everything, dethrone NVIDIA, help AMD be more competitive somehow by giving them some more breathing room to actually develop good architecture. Save us, Intel. This is a really weird place for me to be right now. I didn't realize I would be begging Intel to help us out, but we desperately need it in the graphics card market. We need more than 2 entrants. We also need that to happen in the CPU market, but Intel can't save us there because there are overlords. And that's gonna wrap it up for all the hot news we have today. Are you excited for the upcoming Intel graphics cards? Are you terrified about Alexa being in your home? Are you still mining? That's probably something, that's a table that you probably want to, you know, maybe get out of, get into. I'm curious what you guys are doing with mining. Let me know down in the comments below. Hit that like button. If you enjoyed this hot news, please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content as I dribble out of my mouth. And I'll see your smiling faces again in the next hot news. Love you too.